G'day legends, it's Mark here from North Oz, and if you found your way to this video, I'm sure it's because you've seen the rendering of my 79 Series Landcruiser that I've got behind me here. And we have started, if you're new to the channel, we have started building the 79 Series Landcruiser, and we're going to be talking about the build plans today. And this is the closest representation that I can make for what the final product will look like. And I'm going to go through every single step on how we're going to get to this final build, the completed project here behind me. Let's get stuck into it. It's going to be a good one. So to quickly talk about the AI rendering, because I actually saw someone else doing it and I thought that's really cool, but they didn't say how to do it. So I went and found out how to actually do an AI rendering of what I would like my final vehicle to look like. And guys, since I have done it, I've been so enthused, I've been so motivated to try to get more and more of an idea, because this is what it's given me. It's given me a final idea of what I want my 79 series to look like. And more so, now that I know what it looks like, how I will actually get there. And how much money is it going to take me to do it? What items do I need to have in this? What items are missing from this as well? And maybe what are some of the things that I probably won't include in there? It just gives me a really great jumping off point. So I want to get that out of the way first. If you want to know how to do this yourself, leave a comment for me so I actually know this is a topic that you would want to do. So this is a topic that interests you and it's something that I can show you guys. It's not particularly hard. I did use 2 programs to create this. It wasn't a very hard process at all. So if you want me to make a tutorial video on how to do an AI rendering for your own rigs, let me know and I'm happy to make one. But for now and for today, we're going to be doing having a look at the build plans for the 79 series and how we're going to get to this. So the very first thing, now something I want to talk about as well, is that I have built 3 four-wheel drives before this. So every time I build a four-wheel drive, I feel like I have a bit more of a clearer idea about what I want out of my vehicles each time. Now this vehicle that I'm building is going to be very different to my previous 3 builds. My very first build was actually, 4 builds. My very first build was a D22 Navara. That was a very budget-orientated build, and I achieved exactly what I wanted to with that. I had my Prado, which is just a basic tourer. Great vehicles, by the way. I had my 2023 Hilux Rogue, which was awesome as just like a weekend getaway camper. And then I also had my 2001 GU Patrol, which was great as a basic off-roader. That thing will just go absolutely anywhere. So with this build, what am I trying to get at with this one? Well, this is going to be my touring build. This is going to be, and also some difficult tracks as well. It's going to be a solo travel build. So it has to get me out of some tricky situations by myself. And it's also going to be designed for touring around Australia. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to, is getting out for a long period of time and seeing some of the great places that we have here around Australia and potentially internationally as well. So that is obviously a number of years into the future, but that's kind of the plan. The plan is I can take it anywhere around Australia and also internationally as well, and do some awesome tracks and go and see what is out there in the world via my own four-wheel drives, which is something that I'm going to be really looking forward to. So the very first thing I want to talk about, and this is the first step of our build plan, and I've got everything here in front of me because there is a lot that I need to try to remember for this video. So the first thing is protection. So if you are new to the channel, I have already started building out the 79. I started off with protection. That was the very first video that I made. Obviously, we picked up the vehicle with Dad. So the first thing was we've got a bull bar on the vehicle, and we also have scrub rails and side steps, all from Toyota, so that all maintains a genuine Toyota factory warranty. That was something that, and it is something that I am keeping in the back of my mind for the next 5 to 7 years, is I'm not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize the warranty of the vehicle. So we went and did protection, got all that done, and then after that we had a look at the actual preventing of corrosion and also keeping the paint in good condition. So I used a ceramic coat for the paint, and I also used a lanolin based protectant for underneath the vehicle. So I went ahead, did that. That is all up there on YouTube for you guys to have a look at, and also did a windscreen and also window protectant as well, which is very important. So that is kind of like my first step. I've already done it. So if you guys want to plan your own four-wheel drive build, this is kind of the process that I'll be following. Now the next, and this is the kind of the part that I'm up to right now, is the interior. So With your interior, it's a very personal thing. Everyone likes different things in their own interiors. But for me, I needed additional storage. So I've again made a video on this already. I've got interior shelf storage, which is awesome. Gives me a huge amount of usable space. And I've also got a new center console as well, which is more to do with comfort, because if I am traveling long distances, which I have in the past before, and I will be doing, especially doing Cape trips, stuff like that, you're traveling 1,000 kilometers each way. So you want to make sure that if you're on the road for 4, 5, 6 hours a day, you want to make sure you're in some sort of level of comfort. So for me, that means changing out the center console, because the center console that I had was not usable. So I went and got a department of the interior center console and roof shelf. Great system, love it, can't speak highly enough about the products that those guys make over there. And kind of where is it that I'm going to next with the interior. And for me, what's coming up, this is where we're getting into the future videos, is that I want to do an audio setup, and I'm actually in the middle of doing an audio setup as well. So stay tuned for that one. But for me, audio is a big part of my life. I enjoy having a good sound system in my vehicle to enjoy the music that I like to listen to, especially on long trips. It helps, and it helps you keep you a little bit awake as well. Especially first thing in the morning, crank up some tunes, when you get out on the road, and life is good. So everyone needs to consider their own, needs when it comes to interior. If you're someone that doesn't really listen to a lot of music, maybe you listen to podcasts, don't worry about upgrading your audio. Things like that. So there is going to be a personal element to this as well. So that's why I'm kind of giving you guys the idea of what I have planned for my vehicle, and then it's going to hopefully spark some ideas for you guys as well. I think, do I really need to spend the money on that, or can I spend it on something else that I will actually use? So that's the interior done. Okay, so yeah, like I said, it's really important that you have a comfortable and ergonomic place to be in. These are all some of the things that I wrote down as well. Do you enjoy your music? All that stuff is super important. Now, when it comes to seating as well with the interior, there's one thing that I missed, is that if you are someone who suffers from a bad back, or maybe you have to sit a certain way, then obviously an aftermarket seat might suit you. For now, I'm happy with my 79 series seats. I think that they fit me quite well. They're quite soft actually, and they're made out of vinyl, so easy to clean, because I got a dog in the car as well. So can't complain about that. I don't really want to do any carpet installs as well. I know a lot of people have workmates upgrade to carpets. Not interested in that at all. That is exactly why I got the workmate to begin with as well, is that the vinyl makes it a lot easier to clean out. So the next thing, once we've done the interior, so we've done the protection, we've done the interior as well. Now the next thing is going to be communications. So obviously, the interior is great because you're comfortable for your long trips. You can take the family out in comfort, and you can go out in comfort, and I can as well. Happy with that. Now, next thing is communications. I need to stay in contact, especially when I'm traveling by myself. That's the whole idea of this build at this point is solo travel. So I need to stay in communication with people. I need to stay in communication with travelers around me. I need to stay in communication with my loved ones. So whether that's via phone or via satellite. So that's what we're going to talk about now. So the first thing that I would like to do, and it is a little bit expensive to do, is I want to do a decent UHF setup. So that means I want to run a 2.1 dBi antenna using, hopefully, we'll see what happens. I still need to have a look at a couple other companies, but I'm hoping to do a GME setup. They are a little bit pricier than some of the other setups and the other companies, but for me, I think GME make a pretty good quality product. So I've had pretty good experiences with their products in the past. So plan is to do an XRS unit, which is like the top of the range unit. And that's one thing I'm not going to skimp out on, is the communications, because you have to make sure that you can't skimp out on that, guys, because if you do, you end up in a really bad situation with no way to contact people. So I like the low dBi antennas because I live in a pretty mountainous area, and there are a lot of obstacles around where I live day to day. So I feel like that's going to be the best option for me, as opposed to a higher dBi setup where you've got kind of like the longer and skinnier antennas. And for me as well, I think that the lower dBi just looks better on the vehicles, my opinion anyway. But it is more to do with the lower dBi, has better range in mountainous areas. So the next thing is my satellite communication. Now, I just need to, again, work out all the mounting for this, but I do have a satellite communicator of my own. I've just got a Garmin InReach Mini. Does a job for me. Once you purchase it, it's a $20 a month fee to run the service. Not a problem at all. It's a $20 a month plan, and I can send quite a few text messages and stuff like that. I can send personalized text messages, and I can call SOS if I get into trouble. So all very useful things, and I take it with me hiking, camping, all sorts of places as well, and especially when I'm doing my solo trips too. So the next one is just a basic phone mounting system I'd like to install in the 79 as well. So I'd like to get some sort of decent mounting setup. I'm thinking of mounting it close to the center console. I like to keep everything kind of down around there. There are a lot of laws coming out, and I'm sure there's going to be more coming out about where you can place screens that on your windscreen. And you know what, guys, I do tend to agree personally. I do tend to agree keeping as much of the distracting things like screens and tire pressure monitoring systems and scan gauges and all these things, keeping that out of your vision so you can focus on the road ahead of you and the environment around you. I think that, to me, I think that it makes sense. It's an important thing to have. So I'm going to try and keep kind of all my information, all my communications, all down near my center console, because I've already got my scan gauge 3 down there, which is out of the way, but I can also just do a quick glance down if I want to see something of interest, like how much boost I'm making or whatever it is that I want to do. So it's all going to be down and out of the way, but for me, it's just trying to figure out the mounting systems that I want to run on it. I'm hoping to run a couple of mounts off the ashtray. There's like an ashtray kind of panel that looks pretty sturdy, so I might see if I can stick a couple of RAM mounts on there and see if I can have my phone and that and my satellite communicator come off that. That's my plan anyway. We'll see how well that goes in practice. So moving on. So we've got our communication sorted. Very important part of the build. The next part is capability. So the 3 things that I want to add for capability on the vehicle is going to be a proper snorkel. I've had a couple of people ask me from my last video, what did I mean by the 79 only having a raised intake? So we'll talk about that as well. Having some proper breathers for the transfer case, the diffs and all that stuff. So I want to make sure I've got decent breathers on there too, and a good quality winch because I am traveling by myself. And even a little bit of rain out in the outback can get you really, really stuck. So having a winch can help in that situation and help others out in that situation too. So the snorkel, I want to touch on that really quickly, is that the 79 series comes standard with a snorkel. However, it is a 3-piece snorkel. So it's got a section that comes out of the airbox, and then it's got another kind of mid section, and then it's got the top of the raised intake. Now, because it is in sections, and I have seen the interior and I've seen the way it's made, structure of it, because of the way it's made, it's got quite a large seam halfway up the intake, which means that if you dip that part into water, then it's going to suck in a lot of water. Now, the factory airbox may actually be able to filter that out, may actually be able to get rid of it, but on a water crossing, you want to plug up the airbox because you don't want it to suck up through that kind of water drainage section that all airboxes have. So any water that comes in is going to go into the engine. So it's a little bit tricky. Do I go and try and find a way to seal the 79 series intake? I'm not sure if anyone has done that yet, but in case you're wondering, it is just supposed to be a raised intake. It's not supposed to be a fully sealed snorkel system. So for that, you're looking at something like a Safari snorkel or any of the other companies as well. I really like the look of the Safari snorkel. I think it looks pretty cool. But for me, it is a bit daunting cutting into the vehicle to create, extra airflow as well without a tune as well. Not sure how that will go. But anyway, that's all, again, just my opinion. And when it comes to practicality, cutting up all the airbox and that as well, will that affect the warranty? I don't know. If you do a really bad job on it yourself, or someone, take it to a third party, like an ARB or whatever, and they make a mistake and it, maybe puts dust or water in your engine, then you've got no repercussions. You can't go back to Toyota and say it's a factory issue and your warranty will be voided. So these are things that I have got in the back of my mind as well, that I'm not just going to change things willy-nilly. I do actually have to have a good look at it and have a bit of a think about how this actually affects my new car warranty, because it is still a new vehicle. So that's your snorkel. In terms of the breathers, I want to make sure that I've got a decent breather system located in the engine bay that's going to get all of my breathers for my diffs and my transfer case. I'm not sure if we need to do one. I think we do for our fuel tank as well, because a fuel tank breather sits only just above the tank. So I might see if there's a kit that I can use to relocate that one as well and see if that's included. Talking very quickly about kind of your breathers and your snorkels, there was one situation I wanted to share with you guys, and that was filmed in my Cape York video. I'll leave a little card for that and at the end of the video as well if you want to watch that. And there was a guy who hydro locked his engine because he didn't have a raised intake. So that is something to consider, is that, you can, if you don't, it's kind of like, you kind of balance out the lesser of the two evils, really, isn't it? Where you have a look at it and you think, well, is it to risk the warranty, or do you risk hydro-locking your engine? It depends what you're doing. Now, I am doing the Cape again next year in the 79, so having a raised snorkel is probably going to be required. Same goes with the breathers as well. Because again, anything can happen with the breathers. Maybe a breather gets blocked or something, you put an aftermarket system in it, and then all of a sudden you've lost your warranty. So these are all things to consider. Wading depth is something to consider as well. I mean, the wading depth on most new vehicles these days is something like 900 millimeters. Check your own four-wheel drives, but most of the modern ones have about 900-ish millimeters of wading depth, and that will actually put your breathers under the water, which will suck in water and will create problems. So, although that is a factory number that they give you, it can still cause damage. So that's something to have a think about. You want to make sure you're protecting your vehicle, and I really do want to protect the vehicle for all types of terrains that I may find myself in. Now, last one is a winch. So a winch is something that I really want to do as well. Like I said, it's good to have. It is one of the, you got to be careful, because it is one of those modifications that you can do as a just in case. But if you are doing lots of remote travel, you can't really go wrong. You kind of have to have one. That's something that I've found as well. Obviously, not having bull bars on my new vehicles that I've had in the past, mounting a winch hasn't really been an option, but now I can. So, it makes sense to mount one. And, there are some winches that aren't too expensive as well. So maybe I can try to balance the cost to use ratio sort of thing there. So the next part that I want to talk about is the wheeling section. So what are we going to be doing? And we will be addressing exactly some of the specific points on the rendering. But in terms of wheeling, I want to make sure that it can wheel off-road. I want to make sure it can still do a couple of tough tracks and get myself out of some sticky situations. So in terms of the wheeling, there's three things I want to do. There's lift, lockers, and tires. Now, I actually really like the factory wheels. They look quite nice, but unfortunately they are quite narrow, and they do sit quite towards the midline of the vehicle, towards the middle of the vehicle, which does make it a little bit tippy. So I do want to do a proper 33-inch tire. So it does have a 33-inch in diameter, but I want to beef up the width of the tires a little bit and have a lower offset wheel, which will push it more towards the outside of the vehicle, which will give me a little bit more stability. So that is something that I want to do. I want to do a wheel and tire combination. I want to still make sure it's got a decent set of all-terrains, because it does have Bridgestone Jewelers from factory, which is great. They're a fantastic tire. So I may even wear down those Bridgestones around just doing my normal camping trips and that until I get to my Cape trip, where I might then, before I go, because I've got nearly a year, where I might then change the tires on it to something a little bit bigger. Now, in terms of lift, listen, not very high up in my priority. I really do want to do a remote reservoir shock setup. I haven't had one before, and Old Man Emu have just brought out their new MT71s, which look quite nice. I haven't heard any reviews or anything on them yet, but that is something that I might look into, because that is something that that could suit the vehicle, and nice timing with the their new shock setup that has come out and me purchasing my 79. So that might be something that I'll look into. In terms of lift, I'm not too concerned. I'm really reluctant to go up to a 35 for my 79, just because of the additional wear on the driveline, wheel bearings, all that sort of stuff. So I want to be careful that I'm not going to, then you're changing your ratios and stuff through having a bigger diameter tire. So you've got to be really careful. So I mean, even a 2-inch lift, and I might stick with 33s and maybe do a 34-inch tire at the most. Don't really want to push it. So you can kind of see where I'm going with that. I want to make sure it's going to be a good, solid, reliable vehicle. And also, if I do go with a 35 and it does wear out some of the driveline, again, we might lose out on our warranty. So we've got lift. Now lockers, my vehicle did not come with any lockers. It is an optional extra for the workmate. So it actually does make quite a lot of sense for those people out there. And if you want to, I will be as well making a GXL versus workmate comparison. And this is one of the points that I will make, is that the GXL does come with a rear locker factory. So it does cost money to put on a workmate. And because I didn't order my workmate, I just took ownership of the order. That was a dealer allocated vehicle. I did not get the chance to option it with a locker. So I will be doing at least a rear locker. I may do a front locker as well, because I've never had a twin locked vehicle. I want to see what that's like. So I might, while I'm at it, do another locker. I'll probably, let me know what you guys think about the lockers. Should I go with an air locker or an e-locker? That's something that I've been looking at a lot lately. I don't really want to install more things like compressors and all that rubbish if I can avoid it. But if I need to, then, and it will benefit the vehicle and will help off-road, then I will do it. So wheels, tires, lift, lockers, these are the things that I will probably do in the future. Moving more towards next year, I'll have a revisit again before I go to the Cape. I kind of want to do the Cape with a stock vehicle just to see what it's like, but we'll see how we go. Now, this is the exciting part. So this is kind of the long-term section. This is where kind of the rendering will come into it a little bit too. So if I have my 79 for a long period of time, and we're talking, whatever, 5-6 years, and I decide I want to give it a bit of a birthday, then this is what I'll probably be doing to it. So one of the things I really want to do, this is kind of like the dream, we'll say. This is like the dream spec, is to do portal axles. I think would be really awesome, because that will then lift the vehicle up like 4 inches under the diff, which would be pretty cool. So that may be something that I'm interested in doing in the future, something I'll save up for as well, of course, because it is quite costly. And also extending the chassis about 300 mil, I think would be pretty cool too. So not only will I have a taller vehicle, I'll also have a longer vehicle as well, which can affect things like your turning circle and that, but it will give me more usable space between the axles, so I can carry more of a load on the tray and not be afraid of, having that bent chassis that everyone's so worried about. So that's kind of the dream. Now, having a look at our rendering, and boy, is it cool. I really like the fact that it's got the black wheels on it. I think that the black wheels on a white truck, so and also the black bars as well. I was thinking about getting a lot of things color matched on my vehicle, like the bar work, but now that I've seen it in the rendering, I don't think I will. It's kind of got this weird roof rack on the back as well that kind of attaches onto a fiberglass canopy, which is somehow attached to a steel tub sort of tray thing. But I really do like the look of the wheels being pushed out. That was what I was talking about there with the lower offset rims. So I do think that would be a pretty cool setup. I do have bar work on mine already, so I can't change that just yet on the rendering. So that you can kind of add some scrub rails there to the back. But yeah, I mean, like the snorkel is pretty spot on. A lot of it looks pretty much how I would like to do it. Doing some sort of roof rack system on there as well, depending what I go with, of course. I'd like to have an awning on the side of each, so like a change room on one side and an actual, proper usable awning, whether it's a 180 degree awning or I just stick with the same kind of old awning that I've always had. I'm not too sure. Now with the tray setup, I'm still really conflicted about what to do with the tray setup. I do have a factory steel Toyota heavy duty galvanized tray. I just don't know what to do with it just yet. I don't know whether to put a canopy on the back of it, but then you're going to lose visibility to the back. So there are a few things that I'm considering. Do I just do like a small lockbox just for some of like my boxes and stuff? I do feel like I want to run my electrics just to the interior of the vehicle, not worry too much about doing a full canopy setup. But I would be interested to hear what you guys think as well. I don't know. I think that looks pretty cool how that is, but I'm just not too sure practicality-wise how I'd actually be able to achieve some sort of like steel tray that I've got right now and also stick a fiberglass canopy on there. I have had a look at a couple of different setups, but it looks like they only do that for like your Mazdas and your Hiluxes as well. So they don't really do a fiberglass canopy for a steel tray, which I think would be looking pretty cool. I will also at some point be color matching, probably after the Cape trip, color matching my tray to the paint of the cab as well, because I think that that's going to make it look a little bit nicer as well. A little bit less, I guess, yeah, trade spec, I suppose, but still, I don't mind it. And it is going to be hard wearing. The paint won't chip if there's no paint. So, yeah, roof racks as well, lots of storage for boxes, especially if I'm traveling internationally as well. I will need to keep quite a lot of gear with me. Everything from food to water and all sorts of things, depending how remote that I'm going, especially even here in Australia as well. So that is the setup. I really like the rendering, and it's kind of been, for me, a jumping off point, this rendering, because it's kind of like, for me, been, you know, I haven't been able to visualize exactly what I wanted, and by using kind of the AI tool, it was pretty cool to see how it will actually look in terms of as close to my final vision as possible. So like I said, if you guys want me to show you how to use the AI tool to create a rendering like this for your own four-wheel drives, just let me know down in the comment section. And I'm glad that I had a chance to, I've been meaning to make a video about the build plans for the 79, so I'm glad I was able to finally have a chance to sit down and do it. I hope this gives you a little bit of an idea of what I have planned for the vehicle. In terms of cost, listen, I'll probably set myself a cost of somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000 without doing the crazy dream stuff like the portals and all that sort of stuff. That's kind of where I want to be. I don't really want to be more than $10,000 into the vehicle. And that includes the lift as well. And not wheels and tires, because I know that that will be a little bit extra. But yeah, somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000 with all the stuff that I want to do. And that was kind of the stuff that I said that we could do leading up to and including the Cape York trip that we'll be doing again next year. So you won't want to miss that. So make sure that you guys have subscribed. And guys, that's it for today. If you think that this was a pretty cool rendering and you think that that's something that you would drive and that you would drive around on a daily basis as well, because this is my daily vehicle, let me know down in the comment section. And is there anything that you would change, or is there anything that I have missed? I always appreciate your comments and your input, because there are a lot of you guys out there that are really experienced when it comes to four-wheel driving. I do appreciate that feedback. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there for today's video, and yeah, and I'll see you guys next week. See you then.